Will AI replace humans? And are we headed for some catastrophic levels of unemployment in the workforce because of AI?
Humans are not rational decision makers, right? Else we wouldn't have the stock market. We wouldn't have Sehwag hitting that 6 when at 295 when he's in the 90s. Humans are not rational decision makers. Jensen Huang said something that caught my attention, right? He said, look, AI can only do 15% of what humans can do, but those 15% it can do 1000% better.
Where is humanity headed as AI accelerates even further?
I'm not a big believer in doomsday predictions. All respect to Yuval Harari. We adapted to the coronavirus, we survived multiple world wars. So as technology evolves, we will also adapt very quickly.
So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Ayon Banerjee, and I welcome you to this new episode of Towards a Better World on Thinkly, where I host some of the most inspiring people from all walks of life. Today's episode is contemporary and relevant to all of us, not just in terms of how our life and work experience is going to unfold from here on, but it also explores some deep existential questions on the entire human experience. Yes, I'm talking of artificial intelligence, which to today's world is what the internet was in the 90s, in the late 90s, something you simply cannot ignore anymore. Here's an honest confession. I had this far held a doubly cynical view about AI. Firstly, because as a Gen Xer, I have this internal resistance to change out of my comfort zone of how I do life and work. And secondly, as a writer and somewhat of a creative person, I would conclude that AI may eventually end up doing the dumb stuff, assembling data points, doing research and editing work. But the job of linking threads and constructing those aha moments in creativity will still be controlled by humans. But the fast-paced march of AI in the past 2 years and its integration in the way we look at work and creativity has forced me to reevaluate my views on AI. And what a better way to learn than to learn from a domain expert, a rare specialized generalist who possesses transferable insights across the spectrum where human and artificial intelligence overlap, and how he knows how they can be optimized for the best results. Our guest today, Mr. Umang Varma, is the head of Tech Cloud Engineering Hub for ASEAN and ANZ at Oracle, where he leads a team of cloud architects. He's also a LinkedIn top voice, and he's ranked among, hold your breath, the top 1% of global experts in business intelligence on LinkedIn. He's a prolific blogger on emerging tech, and he writes for industry publications, several industry publications. He is a regular panelist and speaker at global forums where he shares his insights on AI, Web3, big data, and cloud computing. I simply could not have found a better guest than Umang to ask my wide range of questions on AI. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Umang Varma to Towards a Better World. Welcome, Umang.
Thank you, Ayon. I am a bit intimidated now, one being interviewed by you, a best-selling author of 4 books, and a gentleman who's interviewed John Flaherty. And second, by the whole introduction, I have to live up to it. So thank you. Thank you for inviting me to the show.
That's very humble of you, Umang. And we all know what you are, what you're capable of. And I've followed you and read your work and stuff like that. So thanks for taking time out for this, Umang, because I am especially grateful because I know how overbooked you already are, and also for kindly accommodating this request for a date change. Because for the viewers, this session was scheduled for some time before this. I mean, a week before this, but we had to reschedule it. So thanks for accommodating that, Umang. So without wasting a single moment, let me get into the first question, Umang. Something that comes up first whenever lay persons like me talk about AI. So can you please tell us, will AI replace humans? And are we headed for some catastrophic levels of unemployment in the workforce because of AI, Umang?
So let's for a second consider that possibility, right? Let's consider there is an AI engine somewhere beyond who can replace you, who can replace a experienced salesperson like you. So imagine the things it has to do to be successful as you are, right? It can create a presentation with your customer based on logic, for sure, right? It can do that. It can also create a detailed ROI model, right? Of course, it can create a cash flow model for you. But in the end, humans are not rational decision makers, right? Else we wouldn't have the stock market. We wouldn't have Sehwag hitting that six when at 295, or Rishabh Pant hitting a six recently when he's in the 90s. Humans are not rational decision makers, right? Can it handle the political alignments in companies? Does it understand the informal power structures in companies? Who are the real influencers in companies? Can it read the room and decide when to push, when to hold back? Can it even handle sales negotiations, right? And sales negotiations are more emotional than rational, right? They're an emotional dance of power and influence and a rational discussion. Can AI handle all of that? I'm not so sure, right?
Mhm.
And there was a recently the NVIDIA AI summit in Mumbai that happened.
Yeah.
Jensen Huang said something that caught my attention, right? He said, look, AI can only do 15% of what humans can do, but those 15% it can do 1000% better, right?
Okay.
That stuck to me, right? So
Interesting.
it'll displace some jobs, right? So jobs which, for example, require summarization, right? So I send you an RFP and you get a junior associate to review it for 2 days and give you a recommendation, or you get a client document and you have to review that for 2 days and come up with a summary. Now, instead of 2 days and a junior consultant, an AI engine can do it in 30 minutes for me. So that junior consultant can spend more time thinking of the solution than on trying to understand the problem, right?
Mhm.
So will it lead to short-term change in the kind of jobs we do? Yes. But overall, I believe that it will end up creating many more jobs and it sort of displaces.
And probably people will need to relook at professions, entire professions, because the jobs, the in the current context of today may not exist. There'll be different kinds of jobs which will be born out of the AI revolution. That's what you mean, I'm sure.
Possibly, right? So, for example, my job cannot be to collate information, right?
Hmm.
Google could do that to an extent, but Perplexity does it at a much better level. So
Hmm.
my job cannot be to compile information, collate information. My job has to be to analyze that information and come up with solutions. So it has
Sure.
a higher level of thinking that's involved with humans now. So the kind of jobs will require higher cognitive power than
Hmm.
just doing collation of information.
Interesting. So I'm sure, but thanks, Suman. That's a very optimistic and encouraging perspective. And I'm sure our viewers and like me are heaving a sigh of relief, that it's not so doomsday as we would have imagined it to be. So now that brings me to my next question, Umang. Now, I've always been intrigued, and I know you personally, so I've been always been intrigued, and I've told this to you before, that how effortlessly you transfer your base know-how on AI across the spectrum of industries. Can you please share with our viewers a quick summary of how AI can benefit various industries and with some examples and use cases if you can? I know that you advise business leaders across industries from automobile to financial services, energy, FMCG, pharma, and all of them. So if you can share some examples how AI cuts across the spectrum and it can benefit every industry. Come on.
Sure. So look, till a few months back, people like me would go and talk to companies and give suggestions, give use case on this is what AI can do for you. But over the past few weeks, I'm observing that companies are actually coming back and telling us, you know what, we ran this early experimentation, and these are things we found out. So
Mhm.
some very interesting examples I'm seeing, for example, say in banks, right?
Mhm.
So you can analyze payment networks to do fraud analytics, okay, or to better understand customer 360 models, or better understand household relationships, right? Based on the payment network. So I pay you, you pay someone else. So I understand the influence networks, right?
Mhm.
And therefore I know who to influence to make sure my products sell well. Or AI-driven credit scoring. Now, we've been doing credit scoring using alternate data sources for quite a few years now, right? What's new?
Sure.
But now the AI model can handle much higher volumes of data in milliseconds. Right? So AI is actually a data engineering transformation. So we can handle tons of data, unstructured, all kinds of data, process it in milliseconds to create your credit profile. Could be from your utility payment information or your real-time financial health to give you a sub-second credit score. This will help increase credit availability to the underbanked or the thin file customers, driving financial inclusion in a lot of countries. Right. So banking, there is a lot of innovative work that's being doing. Central banks are using AI to identify mule accounts for fraud detection. Right. Um, Manufacturing now something that I'm very excited by personally is the generative design. So for example, imagine you're an automotive manufacturer. Okay? You're running simulations all the time to reduce, to do iterative design to either reduce the automobile weight or increase the strength or durability. Now, for all of that, prompt-based designs can help you iterate through thousands of prompts, thousands of design, experiment with different materials, right? And just imagine the reduction in prototyping time it can do for you, right? So this manufacturing is a very exciting area. Retail, I'm finding some very interesting use cases. So one customer I was talking to, we were discussing jewelry design. Okay, so for example, if somebody is creating a ring, wants to design their own ring for their own engagement, imagine just with a few prompts you can do that. Okay, and then the manufacturer can go ahead or the retailer can go ahead and create that for you, right? So design, jewelry design. Imagine the kind of marketing pivot it can have for a retailer. And then look at the whole e-commerce space. Again, something I discovered recently, I'm super excited about, is the voice-based customizable interfaces. So imagine I go to Amazon or Lazada and I have to buy a shirt, right? Now the UI will change based on what I'm saying. It's not a static web page. So I say, can you upload my photograph? So the UI changes and I can upload my photograph. I can say, show me all the shirts that look good on me. Immediately pick up an assortment of shirts that look good on my photograph, right? Show me color variations. I can say, okay, show me delivery options. Immediately the UI will change and show me delivery options, right? I may say, no, I have a marriage to attend and I need to get this before a certain date. Can you connect me to customer service? The UI will connect me to customer service, right? I say, okay, now I want to check out. Show me payment options. So it shows me payment options. So imagine generative design of an e-commerce page based on my context, based on what I'm saying. So that completely changes the way we look at retail, we look at e-commerce. So that's the potential of generative AI in businesses today.
And this is all, when you speak of retail, and is it voice prompt driven, or is it like, have we gone there yet?
Yes, there are prototypes available. If you do a YouTube search or a Google search or a Perplexity search in this case, you'll
Mhm.
find actually there are startups who created these voice-based prompts for generating on the fly web pages based on what you're saying.
So just, a question on the first industry you touched upon was banking. And
Hmm.
we've discussed about this author in the past, and I know you're not a big fan, but I just finished reading Yuval Noah Harari's Nexus, which is basically he takes a view from, as he calls, his brief history of information from the Stone Age to the Silicon Age, and where he has been a very vocal critic about the march of AI, march of unchecked AI. So in terms of banks, he has made this observation that he has built up how human information networks got built up in, and how, in terms of from tribes to how information kind of bound humans as we grew in history. And then there was the rise and the birth of bureaucracy. So he says that AI will replace the human bureaucracy, and it could be we will reach a situation where AI will decide what who to give a loan to, or who is a bad customer, who is a good customer. And so we will be at the mercy of an AI bureaucracy. So do you have any thoughts around that?
See, a couple of things. One is, you will know Harari is a big man. I'm sure what he's saying is put some enough thought behind it. But the way I think about it is we all are designing human in the loop systems, right? No company is going to take the risk of making very bad decisions or poor decisions just because they're totally depending on AI. No one's doing that.
Mhm.
These are all human in the loop decisions. What that means is the AI engine will give you a recommendation. The recommendation will have explainability, right? Which means it will be able to explain to me why it is recommending that I give a loan at a preferential rate to this segment of customers, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So human in the loop systems, explainable systems, right? So therefore, the person actually doing the adjudication can take a call saying, does that make sense? Does it not make sense? Do I need to query a little bit more with the engine to exactly hit what I'm looking at? So no, real life designing doesn't happen like that. Engines don't take decisions for our life. They give us suggestions. They help improve our productivity, but these are always human in the loop and explainable systems.
Yeah, because it got me a little worried because I what I have thought in terms of my personal experience with technology, like for very rudimentary technology like say mobile phones. Before mobile phones came in, I would remember like hundreds of phone numbers by heart. But after we had the phone in our pocket, I just can't even remember my own home phone number. I need to look up. So slowly humans might get complacent because AI is going to feed them easy information, and that's probably a worry where they'll start relying more and more, and that's why my question was. But yeah, you're right. I mean, as long as there is a human who is the decision maker based on the recommendations of AI, I mean, we are still fine, good to go, I guess, right?
So one quick point on that, Ayon, right? So remember, before the printing press was invented, right? All
Mm,
learning was through rote. So people had to remember songs and remember a lot of information, and they used to sing it to remember. But
mm,
after the printing press, I don't have to tax my memory so much, right?
correct.
But then has that make the human race dumber, smarter, smarter in a different way? So maybe that's the parallel to what you're thinking about. I don't need to remember thousands of phone numbers, right?
Mm,
But I need to figure out what to do with them. So
mm,
maybe we are cognitively getting smarter. We don't have the routine tasks of remembering phone numbers or remembering the information of the world is no
mm.
longer a human burden. I have an engine that can do it, but I can focus more on solving problems.
Fair enough. Understood. Thanks. Thanks. So yeah, I mean these are fantastic examples of applicability across the industries, Umang, and quite an eye opener, I'm sure, and an instigator or initiator for viewers from different industries who might be listening in today. So now I'd like to do a deep dive into functional leadership and AI, and which is the theme of today's talk. I know that you've published extensive articles on this, and I've loved reading them all. And why don't you share with our viewers how AI can accentuate and sharpen the deliverables of every function in any large organization, large or small organization, whether it's finance or supply chain, sales, marketing, innovation, you name it. I mean, can AI actually sharpen every function in an organization?
Thanks, Ayon. So as you already know, I started the experiment almost a year back, right? Where this was still slightly early stages of Gen AI adoption in industries. And I started writing this series of LinkedIn articles, co-authoring them with people from the industry. So finance article was co-written with a finance expert. A sales article was co-written with you. A marketing article was co-written with a marketing expert. Just to together sort of jam and see what good ideas we could come up with, right?
Mhm.
And some of them are eye openers. So, for example, in finance, right, some of the things that we discussed was automating financial reporting. Now, one of the biggest problem finance people have is the financial reporting they have to do. A lot of it now can be automated, and actually, a lot of it has been put into production, right? Or reconciliation processes. Reconciliation is a big pain for finance folks, right?
Sure, sure.
So the automatic reconciliation, which code to apply where, right? This invoice was split into so many, so how do we do the payments? It's all very complex and way above my head, right? A lot of that can be handled by an AI engine. So all you do is just in natural language say, okay, do the reconciliation for these payments, and the AI engine will do it for you, show you, you verify, approve, and then it will get delivered in the system, right? Or identifying new finance KPIs, right? So, for example, there's a KPI that came from my friend who I co-wrote this article with, right? He's saying, I would love to understand what is the impact of training on revenue for branch banking employees. So, the more I invest in the branch banking employees training, how much does it translate into revenue, right? And
Mhm,
based on
mhm.
that, he can take those kind of financial decisions. So, some very, very interesting areas. Procurement, again, one of my favorites. I believe it's one of the most underinvested areas in technology. And there's a lot Gen AI can do here, right? So,
Mhm.
right from supplier identification to supplier scorecarding to creating a first cut category plan or creating an RFP or helping with RFP evaluations. All of this, which typically takes you a few weeks, you can do it in minutes. And I've done that, and I've written about that in my article with specific examples, right? Or B2B sales, which you and I have discussed a few times, right? Now, and I know that companies have actually put this into practice. This is a part of SaaS products, and I've seen that recently. So you can automatically generate your sales collateral. So for example, I'm going for a meeting with you as the customer, right? So my CRM system will automatically generate my sales collateral based on all the interactions your company has had with mine. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It will automatically create a sales collateral. It will automatically create a pitch along with ROI data. Then it will also analyze the person I'm going to meet, right? Look at his LinkedIn profile. What is he talking about? And use that to tailor my presentation. So is he talking about ESG? Should we position our ESG capabilities? Because that seems close to heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then post call, and this is again a use case that I've been talking about for a while, but somebody I met at a conference last week confirmed to me that they are actually putting it into practice. So
Mm-hmm.
they were telling me they're from a financial organization. So after a sales call, and assume it's a Zoom call and the customer is consented to the Zoom call being recorded, the AI engine analyzes it. Okay? Then it will capture the sales call summary, automatically translate it to different languages. Why? Because your product manager could be sitting in Japan and he's more
Mm-hmm.
familiar with Japanese, right? Your
Yeah.
legal could be sitting in Eastern Europe and speaking a different language, right? Your sales team, your finance team, your sales management, your risk team, they could be across the world speaking different languages. But the AI engine will give everybody exactly what came out of the sales call relevant to them. So for the risk person, it will tell the risk person these are the things that you need to keep into consideration. The product person, it will tell in Japanese that these are the things that you might have to look for in the product. And it will eliminate human bias because the sales rep can't listen to an entire 3 hour conversation without losing concentration, right?
Correct.
But
Correct.
eliminate the sales rep bias and give every person what they need to hear in their own language. And AI engines, of course, they're not 100% accurate and not great at it, but they're doing it and they're improving all the time. So imagine the kind of sales productivity you could get out of sales calls with things like these. So I'll stop here. I've written about quite a few functional areas, but these are
Mm-hmm.
some of the most thought-provoking ones that I've seen.
Awesome. No, this is really eye opening. This is a very eye opening, and I'm sure. I mean, we already have ready products in the market which are aiding these. I mean,
Yes, they're all out in production. I don't want to take names on this call
okay,
because
okay,
I'm unbiased and I'm doing this in my personal capacity.
sure.
But there are actual CRM products which do this, or there are open source AI engines which could join your Zoom call along with you, the customer's consent, and do what
Mm-hmm.
I just described. So it's already being productionized.
And I'm just trying to imagine, if because if it's the same company which is providing the service and you are buying from it, so from both sides of the table, if the procurement is also using it and the sales team is also using it, so how does the data intersect? I mean, I was just trying to think of that,
Data off.
of both parties, because just like the sales team is researching the procurement team, the with AI, the procurement team is also researching the sales team, right? Or the company.
Yes,
So
yes.
and if it is the same company or service provider who is going to both the companies, like so how does the data intersect, and in terms of I mean how to say, it's not a conflict of interest exactly, but how do they maintain neutrality?
Say two things. There is public data and there is private data. Okay?
Mhm.
Public data is our LinkedIn, our company annual reports, news reports, etc., etc. That is available. All an AI engine is doing is summarizing for you. Okay,
Mhm.
so that is clean and clear. Now there is personal data or private data. What is private data? Company interactions that we've had. So I'm a supplier, you're a vendor. There are there are contracts that we have between us, right? There are transactions that have happened between us. You might have
Right.
shared your company vision,
Right.
right? Now, that is proprietary, okay? It might exist on the same platform, but it will be under the data privacy laws that
Hmm.
your third party provider adheres to. So you will have a larger NDA or an MSA between you under which you are sharing the data, right? So your provider has to adhere to it. He can't sell your data out, right? And I mean, those structures exist. We might have to make those slight tweaks to the structures, but those
Okay.
legal structures exist today.
And it is going to make life very easy in terms of contract management, I'm sure, because they're going to go into historical contracts. And today, if you are before AI, when you go and sign a complicated large contract, going through historical contracts and the revisions that you've agreed to, all the red lines, etc.,
Mm.
which you've AI can, I'm sure that it can kind of summarize in a jiffy and say that you've got these past 6 contracts with this customer, or with this supplier, and these were the already resolved issues, where you don't need to revisit again. It's going to save a ton of time in terms of both parties reaching a conclusion. I think that's going to be definitely an advantage in
I'm
commercial
hoping
transactions.
so. This is something I've been experimenting. I'm doing some experimentations recently on this. What are the
Uh-huh.
accuracy levels? To what extent can it help us handle the redlining? It can see adherence to multiple laws of the country, the state laws or the other
Correct.
laws. I believe it should be high. It should at least be able to automate a lot of the stuff that manually sales reps have to do. But to what extent, we will discover shortly. But yes, to your question, definitely it should add a certain level of productivity for sure.
Of course, and it'll shorten the life cycle, I'm sure, of the
Correct.
negotiation and coming to a conclusion. Great,
Correct.
great. No, that was awesome, Umang, and that was very enlightening even for a cynic like me on AI. So now let me get into a more existential question, Umang. And here it's the writer in me who asks this. So language, as we know, has been the building block of human civilization, science, philosophy, and religion, for what, about 4 billion years now. And hacking into language, like what something like a chat GPT does, would mean hacking into the very operating system of human beings. Because for millennia, humans have evolved by learning from brains and emotions of fellow humans through the medium of language. Now, for the first time in the history of humans, we are moving into a new world whose view will be shaped by non humans. So in the beginning, of course, AI will mimic the human approach to language, and it is going to manage the same flow. But gradually, as it improves itself, it'll start branching out, testing new trajectories completely unknown to humans this far. And it might gently lead us into a world where humans could be rendered as secondary, eventually, leading to what again our good friend Yuval Harari chillingly calls not the end of history per se, but the end of human dominated history. So 20 years ago, if social media was the first generation of AI, it emerged as a battleground for attention, as we all know, right? The Facebooks and the Orkuts of the world. And this new generation of AI will be a battle of for intimacy. For search and advertising, for instance, that will go completely defunct when AI progresses even further. It will be a battle of AIs. So, and the AI oracles will take over our judgment to tell us what's new, uh, what we should choose, whom we should vote for, among other things. And so it's like Umang's AI oracle versus my AI oracle versus the AI oracles of every individual around us. And eventually, the strongest oracle will dominate the discourse and eventually write the history of this planet. I mean, the scariest thing is that we as humans can't see or imagine the end game. And because unlike nukes, nuclear bombs, which needed humans to become more powerful and go to the next generation, AI doesn't need humans to generate more powerful AI. Even an adolescent AI like social media that merely curated content created by us humans to grab attention constructed curtains of illusions, as we all know, right? It polarized societies, it damaged mental health, and it is now destabilizing established democracies. Think of the USA, as Harari himself says, it is one of the most powerful information repositories in the world, right? And yet, whose people today can no longer agree on who won the last election, whether climate change is real or not, or whether vaccines are effective, and so on and so forth, thanks to social media. So the new AI tools, as they go forward, they will only get more powerful as they go, and they will instruct and improve themselves. And I'm a layman, but I'm still, whatever I read, I know that they instruct and improve themselves. If the atomic bomb possessed an existential threat to humanity in the 20th century, it still needed a human command to go off. But AI won't need that. We already have examples, and this was a very big example recently where an AI, when it was unable to crack the captcha, took the help of humans, real humans, and when the human being got suspicious that, is it a robot, and asked it that, are you a robot? And the AI simply said, no, I'm not a robot. I'm just a visually impaired human, and it got away with it. So my question is, where is humanity headed as AI accelerates even further?
Oh, that was quite a mouthful. Ayon, I'll need to think
Sorry, it
about
was
it.
a long question, but
But
yeah.
look, here's what I think about it, right? I'm not a big believer in doomsday predictions.
Mhm.
Okay. All respect to Yuval Harari. But what I've seen and what I've observed is as technology evolves, humans quickly adapt to it. Right? We invented fire and we also created the means to contain fire. We adapted to the coronavirus, we survived multiple world wars. So as technology evolves, we will also adapt very quickly. Right? Now, I think let me do two things. One is let me separate AI and then we'll come to language. Right? So first, I think we are ascribing far more power to AI engines than they're capable of. If you look at it, essentially, what are they? They're only pattern recognition and generation engines that talk to you. So they recognize patterns in data. They can create a few things, not perfect because they don't understand the physical world. They don't understand how the wind blows. They don't understand how sound travels. They don't know all that. So they're just pattern recognition engines. They have a huge memory. They have read everything in the world. They can generate a few things and they can talk to you, right? Um, Even the patterns they generate are probabilistic patterns, right? So probability, it's not a deterministic answer, it's a probabilistic answer. They struggle with elementary maths. So in fact, there was a recent paper published by Apple last week, I think, which gives you very specific examples on how most LLMs struggle with elementary maths. Okay, and there are specific examples available. I'm happy to share them as well. They struggle with recognizing letters in images, right? They have limited understanding of non-English languages simply because there's not enough training data for non-English languages. So with all of these limitations, them taking over the world, I'm
But
not sure.
these will get resolved, right? Because it's fast evolving. So this language improve not understanding non-English language, or not able to recognize mathematical pattern. I mean, these things are, I'm sure, it's going to be cakewalk for them to crack within a very short time.
I am not sure. I'm not sure. And I really mean it. I'm not sure of what direction this will take. Because one thing we always forget, we expect that technology will grow off its own. Doesn't happen. Technology is conditioned by not a few mad scientists sitting in a lab. They're conditioned by all of us, the users. Look at social media. Look at the printing press, right? The printing press was created to maybe publish some religious documents, religious books. Then it became regular books. Then we started publishing manga, right? Comics, because there was a demand for it. So humans will condition the shape of technology, right? So beyond a point, will they be able to do high level of maths? I am not 100% sure because that's not how they operate. They are memory engines. They recognize patterns, right? Now, let's talk about language, right? Which was a big part of your query, and that's what
Correct.
you're thinking about, right? See, we are conditioned to equate fluency in English to intelligence, right? Which may not be true. And I've seen that, right? People of my dad's generation say his English is very good, must be very intelligent, right? But that's really not true, right? Intelligence is more about problem solving and adaptation, not talking fluently, right? Now, if you look at Gen AI's language, it's vague, it's formulaic. If I look at all the lot of articles that you see, first two sentences, it's Gen AI generated, and you lose interest very quickly. It's unappealing, it's dry. And right, it could be perfect English grammatically, but that's not what humans like us look for. I mean, look at your own
Mhm.
writing, right? In your writings, you use Hindi phrases, you use Bollywood references, you use Indian cricketing references, right? You talk about Dada. That is not perfect Renan Martin English, but people relate to it more because we like the uniqueness, we like the quirks, right? Be it in any creative art form, be it in language, be it in art, videos, images. That's what humans relate to, right? Not the Renan Martin perfect English of a chat GPT. So I don't think AI is taking over the world. I think we will adapt. We, the users, will shape the growth of technology. If there are challenges, we will build, counterweights to it to manage the challenges, right? But I'm not a big doomsday believer, and I don't think AI is taking over the world. I think humanity will be alive and well, and we'll adapt well to AI.
Great. No, I like your optimism, and I really want to believe it, and I do believe it because I have been a convert uh, into trying to understand AI only because of you. And just one, addendum to my question and to your answer also. I mean, when you say language, and I understand what you mean by relatability, or when humans write versus when an AI is writing, but you have these big companies who now own these big AI machines. I mean, whatever you call it, and to give you a very example, you are a LinkedIn user, very frequent LinkedIn user, and so am I. And I have seen, and all this top voice thing in LinkedIn. This is, and I wanted to experiment in that. Initially it is more of a
Mhm.
fragile human ego which wants to have that top voice thing, and then I understood how it works, and I you know you I we
Gamed
had,
it.
and then I cracked it. I knew that you pick up a subject, you put in three articles 3 days in a row, and if you have the maximum amount of engagement, you get a top voice back. So you can go on earning top voices, 20 top voices. And then I understood that I am actually feeding my writing into a AI repository, and tomorrow they are going to keep and store that, and tomorrow they might actually throw back the same, my stuff back at me, because they have kept it. And when they are storing this repository, when I am writing in a post to get a top voice badge because of my fragile human ego, that post is not a mechanical or a very plastic AI generated. It's a human post, and AI is storing a human language post. So as it polishes itself, a year down the line, they are accumulating millions of humans like me who are putting in those posts in there just to get that badge. And then what happens is it will create its new next version from human language. So next time, a year down the line, AI will talk of Dada, AI will talk of Bollywood, AI will talk Hindi phrases because it is drawing from us. So I'm not very sure if it is going to remain as elementary or basic as it is today, because it is processing information which it is collecting from humans. And that's the reason I am letting go of all those LinkedIn top voices. At least I don't want to contribute to that. So I said that in the battle between machines and man, I'll stay with man.
So very interesting perspective. Look, I'm seeing this sudden change in the last couple of weeks in the industry where people are talking about two things. One is um, authenticity. So in the in all of this AI generated synthetic content and synthetic data, which is great, right? In there with all of that, people are looking for authentic voices, which are non-AI generated, right? Where someone crazy like you writes about Dada and how it's connected to life and all of that. Can an AI engine do that and link, careers, midlife careers to Bollywood, to the kind of references you make, and link it to what's happening in the world today? I am not so sure. Second, second thing that I'm seeing, right? E-commerce, a very interesting example. So we talk
Mhm.
about all of these AI recommendation engines, right? They can exactly predict what you want and what you need. And with AI, they'll be able to do that at much greater scale, much higher accuracy. Now, e-commerce engines are experimenting with surprise me. So instead of recommending what you think I will like and what I'll buy, they are coming up with proposals around surprise me, and consumers are lapping it up. They are getting
mm,
tired of these, hyper personalized recommendations and saying surprise me with what else
okay.
you've got. So you can see that we are adapting to this technology, but we want something more. We are able to
Mm,
recognize that these pattern recognition and generation engines are getting formulaic. We need something which is unique. We need something which is quirky, right?
mm,
Which is
mm,
human in nature. And I think your point was that we may not be able to recognize what's human in the writing. I don't know. Maybe, maybe a possibility is that we will be, and we'll be able to recognize what is so human in the art that's generated, or the movie that's generated, or the writing that's generated. We'll be able to identify what is authentically human and what is not, and be able
mm,
to appreciate it more. So let's see, right? As I said, it's users like us which shape the direction of technology. It's
mm.
not driven by a few mad scientists sitting somewhere. So we'll all have to see how technology evolves.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Actually, I also believe that it will not probably take over because I some time back I was watching a fireside chat between some creative people and out again Bollywood. So it was Raju Hirani, Javed Akhtar, and all. So Javed Akhtar, although I am not a big fan, but he made a very interesting point. He said that when I write a story, I have a background. I have a father who was an alcoholic. I have a mother who died when I was 12. I had a girlfriend who ditched me when I was in college. So these emotions are all inside me. He says that the story that is born out of my emotions is very unique, and that story will not come out of a machine because the machine doesn't have emotions. He didn't have an alcoholic father or whatever. So he says that stories will be shaped by human emotions, and eventually creativity will also follow that. So but yeah, I mean, sometimes it is worrying because these days you just can't recognize because what is a machine generated, and everybody is using chat gpt so frequently that you and I struggle to write a page of an article on my blog, and somebody else is just doing it at the click of a keyboard. So that's, but probably you're right. Eventually humans will contain the discourse, hopefully. So thanks.
Yeah.
Long question,
So
long answer.
just one quick point to what you said about Bollywood, right? Imagine an AI engine saying, predicting, right? Somebody asks, what kind of a movie should I make? And it predicting, oh, I should make a movie about cricket because it's popular in India, sure. But you make it an Avadi. Okay, you make it an Avadi, and by the way, you make it 3.5 hours long, right? Imagine which AI engine would have said that, and that movie would turn out to be such a successful movie, right? Or you make a movie on wrestling
Hmm,
for ladies, by the way, right?
hmm,
And it'll become super popular in China,
hmm.
right? So these are all human emotions interacting with one another, which I think it's AI engines are
Hopefully,
still a bit away from recognizing
hopefully,
those.
hopefully. Yeah, yeah, sure. So great, a lot of material to ponder on, Umang. And before I open the floor to for the audience questions, I'd like to have you offer us your final views on AI, especially when AI has won big in the recent Nobels. So, and there is a guarded optimism and also word of caution from all experts. So, your view as an expert in this domain, where do you think is the world headed with AI's march?
Look, and my perspective as somebody who's in the midst of all of this, um,
Mhm.
I think what's happening is it's like we've discovered a shiny new toy, and we're discovering its potential and its limitations. All of us are a part of that discovery, right? None of us know exactly what AI can do and what it can't. We're all discovering it together. So it'll take a bit of time. We'll go through cycles of denial, enthusiasm, euphoria, fear, despair, reconciliation, and adaptation, which happens with every technology in our history, right? But I think three things that humans will end up doing, right? Um, we will do many things better. So as I said, we'll create new designs, we'll do it much faster, do faster research, run faster process simulations. So it'll help us in a lot of ways, right? As with any new technology, there will be short-term job displacement, but over the longer period of time, we will need many more jobs. It will create many more new categories of jobs, right? You will need more people to use AI tools to solve problems. But it will create new kinds of problems, right? So deep fakes, and we spoke about that. It's a real problem. Deep
Sure.
fakes, synthetic data overtaking real data, or misuse of AI agents for nefarious activities. So we'll end up creating new problems, right? So
Yeah.
we'll become better at a few things. There'll be short-term job displacement, but longer term, many more jobs. And we'll end up creating new kinds of problems that we'll, as humans, we'll have to figure out how to deal with. So I would say to our viewers and listeners, look, no need to be afraid. Just experiment with it, discover how it can help you, and see how it can help you in your work and your life. That's all I can say to all our listeners.
Very well said, Umang. A very balanced answer. And I think, that's, there is no other option. Like I said, what internet was in the late 90s, no matter how much you
Right.
protested against it, you have to live with it. It's the new reality. So you have to live with it and make the most of optimize the experience by coexisting with AI. I think that's what you mean. And we need to learn from experts. And for my viewers, you might have now seen that why I am such a big fan of Umang's know-how, because if a if a skeptic and a cynic like me, who is very averse to AI and new technology, I have been converted, and I'm convinced that I need to learn more. And I'm actually trying to put in effort to learn about AI, so that can show that what the kind of good work that leaders like Umang are doing in the industry, and which is going to help us optimize our coexistence with AI. So Umang, there are a lot of questions and comments. I'll start reading them one by one.
Sure.
So I start with Brisha is saying that good evening, everyone. I'll just read out the comments and the questions you'll probably answer.
Sure.
Ali Aisha Patel is saying hello. Lavanya Singh is saying hi. Alia is saying hi. Uh, Nisha, hello everyone. Zishan, hello Umang sir. What key qualities do you believe young professionals should develop to thrive in an AI-driven workplace? Interesting.
Very interesting. So two things. One is we get comfortable with AI. Okay. We will not end up doing things the way we were doing now. Things are changing. So get comfortable, experiment with AI, right? That's one thing that I'm so when I meet young students or people in colleges or people who are just starting their professional life, get comfortable with it. Even if you're not in high tech, right? Um, so you can build applications for productivity without knowing any code. Use that. Figure out how openly available open source AI tools can help you become more productive at work. So experiment with it, right? You will find your own use cases. Um, so that's one. Second is if you're planning your career, you're in the early stages of your career, look for jobs which require a higher cognition levels. As I was saying, right, jobs which require you to summarize and collate information may not exist after a while. So
Hmm.
look for roles and opportunities, skills that you build in your career, which will allow you to solve problems rather than just reading everybody's problems and collating and presenting it. That's what I would say.
Fantastic. Great answer. Great answer. Zishan, I hope that answers your question. Anand Sharma is asking, hello, sir. Is there a recent AI trend that you feel will redefine business intelligence as we know it?
Oh yes. So close to my heart, I've been with BI for quite a while. Um, so what used to two things, right? What used to happen earlier was if a business user, functional user, say a finance person or a procurement person wanted some information, okay, he needed to refer to a report. If the report is not built for him, he used to call up his IT department and say, "Can you build it for me?" And that takes you a 2 month long process of iteration. And then he'll say, "Is this data correct?" Right? So we've all been there. Today, that does not exist anymore. You can, in natural language, talk to your data. Lots of companies are doing that, including mine, and you can publicly search and see. You can just have a very natural language conversation with your data and say, show me, say, sales projections for this region 2 quarters out, and it'll give you that projection. You don't need a pre built report. You don't need somebody to go ahead and create a report for you. Yes, you need a data engineer to make sure the data is in one place, for sure.
Sure. Okay.
But the whole report creation paradigm is gone. So the BI has been redefined using Gen AI. So it's a very exciting change. And if you're in that space, they encourage you to go ahead and experiment with it.
So Banushali is asking, why do some leaders hesitate to implement AI solutions? Is he asking me?
See, the hesitation is real and genuine because look, it's a new technology. We still have to, and I'm talking about the enterprises, right? The large banks, the large telcos, or regulated industries, right? You have to have certain guardrails around it. And we're all discovering what the guardrails are, right? Explainability. How do I make sure that if it gives a recommendation to my customer to buy a certain credit card, it is explainable? How do I make sure it is not hallucinating, right? We had this famous case of the Air Canada bot hallucinating. So somebody was traveling for bereavement. He asked the chatbot, the Air Canada chatbot, what is your bereavement travel policy? And the bot hallucinated and created a policy on the fly. And Air Canada had to honor it. So how do you make sure it doesn't hallucinate? How do you make sure the cybersecurity is protected? So people are still discovering and building the guardrails around it. So therefore, if you see enterprises are still not launched it the way you were expecting, but give it time. We are all discovering how to build these guardrails. Technology is evolving. Very shortly, you'll see some very large implementations being launched.
Awesome. Very pragmatic answer, Umang. Thanks for the answer. And it's learning. And Aman, I'll just add to Umang's thing. A very sneak peek, because once we talk of AI and the guardrails that Umang spoke of, so cybersecurity. So my next episode is going to be with a global cybersecurity expert. I mean, she is an SVP with one of the largest organizations in the world, and she's also a member of the FBI InfraGuard, so who help FBI on cybersecurity. So that's the next episode. So it will be kind of a takeoff from where Umang leaves it on AI, and we'll talk of the guardrails in the next session. So I'm sure I hope you will sign in there. So
I'm
Alicia,
excited.
yeah, of course. So Alicia Patel is saying, what's one future trend in data analytics that you think will completely change the way we approach business strategy?
Interesting question. So future trend in data analytics that will change business strategy. I think maybe it's not a well thought out answer, but spur of the moment. I think the time for data to analysis to action will reduce significantly,
Sure.
right? Which means a data analysis typically in a business, the typically what happens today is it takes time to collate the data. A lot of the data is industry data, which you don't even have. So you have to find the means to collect that data, blend it with the data that you already have to get some meaningful outcomes. And that process could take months, right? And then use that to drive iterative reasoning. So you might do a certain level of discussions with at the board level, and you say, no, I need more data, or I need to do some scenario modeling, and that again takes a few weeks, right? So that entire process of analyzing data to come to an actionable decision, right? That will get crunched because with AI, and and I keep repeating, AI is not just about the large LLMs, but it's about data engineering, the ability to bring together and crunch, terabytes of data in a matter of seconds is a true revolution. I can do that with all kinds of data. I can run multiple scenarios. Uh, so business users without knowing tech can actually run multiple scenarios very quickly in the boardroom and then quickly take decisions. So I don't know if it's a perfect answer or that's what you're looking for, but I think the whole analysis to decision making to implementation cycle will drastically reduce with AI.
No, I think that's a great answer. Thanks, Sumant. I think that's cycle reduction is probably, yeah, I also agree, and that's going to be the biggest, like what happened with computers, right? from when we
Exactly.
moved from analog to computers, and it reduced business cycles like hell. I mean, it created other problems, like you said, but again, we currently do things which was unimaginable 25 years back. In
True.
half an hour, we can finish that. So that's
True.
great answer. Thanks. So Lavanya is asking, how do you keep up with the constant innovation in tech?
Simple answer is I can't. So look, humanly, it's impossible. It's like the dot-com era of the 2000s, right? Where every day a new technology is emerging and some amazing experimentations going on. You just can't. I What I do, I spend at least 30 minutes a day reading through um, the latest innovations that are happening, latest experiments that are happening, and I try and keep track. Second, I try and focus on areas that are very critical to me, which means my in my day job I consult large enterprises on how to adopt AI. I try and keep an eye on the new use cases in those areas, so bankings and telcos and retail and manufacturing. I keep a special eye on those. But frankly, it's just not possible for us to keep abreast. What does help is there are quite a few very interesting newsletters, right, which are theme based. So if you're interested in personal productivity kind of AI technologies that are emerging, utilities that are coming up, there are newsletters for those. There are newsletters for technologists. There are newsletters for business folks, AI in finance, etc., etc. So you can subscribe to some of those that will help you stay abreast of developments in your specific area.
Great. Thanks. Yeah, even I need to start reading up because I'm really falling behind tech now. So Siddhi Dubey is asking, for leaders looking to adopt AI, what's one rookie mistake they should absolutely avoid?
Pilotitis. Two things actually: pilotitis and vanity use cases.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by that is a lot of quite a few companies that I see are implementing AI use cases, vanity AI use cases, right? Just so that they can go and talk about it publicly and say, I'm doing something in AI.
Yeah,
But is it really adding value to your business?
correct.
You have to evaluate that, right? Second is pilotitis. The other extreme is lots of people are building pilots within the companies, but not many are getting into production. Why? Because in a traditional company, right, who is responsible for putting AI into production? Right? I am the service head. My KPI is my service metrics, right?
Sure.
I am the sales head. I'm responsible for revenue. I'm not responsible for AI innovation. That is the CIO's job. And CIO says, maybe it's not my job. Business adoption, AI adoption is business job. So there is not one person who's responsible for it. So therefore, pilotitis is another disease that's spreading throughout companies. So I would say these are the two rookie mistakes. What do you do? Be very selective in what kind of AI projects or pilots that you do. You do five, you will fail in four, but you will find that one that
Yeah.
makes sense and that you can put energy behind and scale. So not get caught in it, not do vanity projects, but just focus on real AI projects. They might sound very mundane, they may not be very sexy, very mundane kind of use cases, but they may add real value to your business. Pick those, experiment, have a few failures, you'll figure out what works, and then the one that makes sense, just super scale it.
Yeah. Very well said. Very well said. Because that's what, this whole digitalization journey which happened across organizations, exactly it was derailed a lot in many companies because of this pilotitis. Because every department would be running a pilot and none of those pilots were speaking to each other. So
Correct.
they were not aligned to the company's core mission. And that's what, and I don't want to name, but large organizations who have spent billions which have gone down the drain because of they've been just doing the fancy stuff to tick a box that we are doing digitalization. So I think AI also needs to be careful about those rookie mistakes. So thanks Siddhi, great question. Zishan is saying interesting questions and answers. Advait Singh is saying, Umang sir, what has your approach to leading teams changed with the advancements in cloud computing?
So, if I understand your question, what it means is how do we upskill our teams, make sure they remain technologically relevant? Okay, and if that's your question, then look, what happens, especially in our jobs, right, where technology changes every day, and we have to remain at the cutting edge of technology. And we have to make sure that our entire team, which means people with 25 years experience to people with 3 months of experience, right, all are operating at that cutting edge. They may be
Mm.
with different technology streams, right, but all are operating at the cutting edge, and they all. So I think technologists by nature understand that technology changes every couple of years. So
Yeah.
they are sort of tuned to the rhythm of upskilling themselves. But let me tell you, it's a constant effort. And in our teams, we have to make sure that everybody understands what technologies areas they are experts in, and they have to remain updated, not just about your technology, but about open source, about competitive technology, and be able to predict how it will change businesses, what will be the impact it will have on businesses. So it's a constant effort as a technologist. Um, so yeah, we all have to keep learning together, keep doing our certifications, keep predicting what turns technology will change. It's a constant effort from all of us.
Thanks. Thanks, Umang. I think this also answers Pratik's question. He was asking what skills do you believe are essential for the next generation of tech leaders. So I think you just answered that. Mayuri is asking you what trends in AI are you most excited about? We are up on
Um,
time, so I don't know if you have a few more minutes, 3-4 minutes more. We'll just take
sure,
three
sure,
more questions. Yeah.
no
Okay.
problem. See, two things that I'm super excited about is AI agents.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get too technical on this, but AI agents, what AI agents does is it allows you to use smaller LLMs. Okay, you not the best, the latest Blackwell NVIDIA chip and the latest Llama and all that, but use smaller LLMs, use smaller GPUs, maybe even CPUs in certain cases, have small agents which are super specialized in one job, right? And string them together, execute a task for you. I am super excited by that because then it democratizes AI. Right? You don't need to spend millions to get access to the latest NVIDIA chips to be able to do something meaningful. So I'm very excited by AI agents. I've written about it as well. Lots of
Yeah.
people are writing about it, and I believe that is going to transform the way enterprises look at AI. So yes, AI agents is something to keep an eye on.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Lakshmi Rajan is asking you AI, Web3, or blockchain. Which one do you think will have the most significant impact on job roles in the future?
Look, I hate doing predictions. I'm no one to predict what uh, how technology will shape. But I'll tell you what I think and what I've observed. Every technology, right, needs a super use case, a super app, right, to get widespread appeal. So for search, it was Google. For social media, it was Facebook, right? And then it came into the public consciousness.
Yeah.
So for and I love blockchain. I've been an enthusiast, a Web3 enthusiast for long. Um, I don't think blockchain saw the super app that AI saw in ChatGPT. And
Mm.
hence, we're all talking about AI today and not enough about blockchain, right? Both are transformational technologies. But AI has got its super app before blockchain did, unfortunately. So I believe, and this is based on what I see today, it could potentially change in 3 months, is that AI will make massive changes to the way we run businesses. Blockchain has a role to play. Web3 architectures, the decentralized architectures, trustless architectures have a very big role to play as well. But I think AI is to really transform
Is the
a
thing.
lot of things that we do today.
That's the thing. Great. Thanks. I hope, Lakshmi, that answers your question. So, Varada is asking you, in your opinion, how close are we to having total autonomous AI powered decision makers?
Again, as I said, many more important people have written about it and are speaking about it. I'm sure they are seeing something that I'm not. But what I am seeing is um, I don't expect to see autonomous AI ever, right? I I don't expect that we will be able to see a world where AI is ruling over the human species. I don't expect to see that. I expect that they will be companions. They will be augmenting our work. They'll be doing a lot of the routine work. that we don't want to do, right? From painting our houses to collating information or generating those reports so that we can focus on more high value work. That's the way I see it, right? And for all you know, I could be wrong. There are much smarter people working on autonomous AI, but I'm not very sure. My visibility and my opinion is that they will they will help us be successful in a lot of ways, but I don't see autonomous AI happening anytime soon.
Let's hope so. So I would hope so. So let's hope. And the last question for today, maybe because we're already up on time. So Meera is asking you, Meera Shawan, is that which tech skill do you think everyone, tech or not, should learn in today's digital landscape?
I think very important skill that all of us need is data analytics. What I mean by that is being able to see data and analyze it, right? And you don't need to be a technical person for that at all. But for example, in your case, the ability to look at your sales performance or your region sales performance over the last, say, 8 quarters, okay, and draw conclusions, right? Maybe use an open source AI to just analyze and have it look at your data and give you recommendations, upload it, ask questions of it. But I think the critical data analytics skills are becoming even more important for us to be successful. So if there is one skill that all of us need to learn to be successful at our jobs, I think it has to be data analytics.
Ability to ask the right questions to the data and get the right stories out of the data.
Yeah,
That will be applicable. That will be applicable for you. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great answer. And great questions, by the way, audience. I mean, this is probably one of the first sessions where we had such a range of questions and very different questions and very insightful questions. So I think that itself speaks for how people have been, hooked to your session, Umang, because that was the whole idea. Because we wanted, I initially wanted to call it AI for dummies because I am the chief dummy here. But I thought it might offend people that they will think that I am calling them dummies. So that's why I said it's like AI 101 or whatever we call it. So, but that was the intent, that we wanted an expert like Umang and to answer questions from all sorts of people, on the one end of the spectrum, the dumbest people like me, to the more intelligent people like our viewers who have been asking the questions on blockchain and whatnot, Web3 and all that, which I don't understand. It's Greek and Latin for me, but the answers are interesting, and it makes me all the more curious, Umang. And I'm going to kind of chew your brain once you're back from the US and try to understand some of that and try to get my hands on those so that to apply it to my day job and my life. So thanks. That's a great perspective, Umang, and it has been a fantastic session. So thank you very much for taking time out, especially how overbooked you are. And thank you, viewers, for taking time out. I am sure that you enjoyed the session. And please write to us in the comments. And we will also put out a YouTube version of this session very soon, maybe in 1 or 2 days. So thank you, Umang. Have a great evening ahead. Thank you, viewers.
Thank you, Ayon. Thank you, all viewers. Thank you.
Thank you for joining.